We acknowledge and respect the first humans of the unceded land we call San Francisco, the Ramaytush Ohlone. We condemn the genocide of these and other tribes across the Western Hemisphere. We honor their legacy and history, and we support rematriation and sovereignty efforts.
Yeah, we're at Alemany Farm.
Okay.
700 Alemany Boulevard.
Yeah, and that sound people might hear in the background is Interstate 280, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Lots of cars flying by all the time.
Yeah, and flying by, I should say, also on the exit ramp, which I just experienced. All
it's
good.
Super fast, and people miss the entrance all the time.
Right.
Yeah, it's a very, very quick turn off to like come into a small gate.
Yep.
Yeah. With cars flying behind you trying to go just as fast.
Yes,
Yeah.
going about 17 at least, or 17 or 18 different directions.
Yeah.
Too. That was a bit of my conversation with Christopher Renfro, our guest this week on Storied San Francisco. I'm your host, Jeff Hunt. People in cars whizzing by on 280 headed toward the peninsula might never realize it, but there's a farm on their right just past the exit for Alemany. This episode is all about Alemany Farm. Christopher Renfro is a member of the farm's core steering committee. Here's Christopher.
I would say I'm from Kentucky. I was born in Kentucky and Tennessee.
Okay.
And then I moved out here at the age of like 22, 23.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've been out here for like 16 years.
All right.
And I moved out here to get away from Kentucky.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah.
But then also you must have been drawn here.
Yeah, it was something that like I felt from the time I was a kid. Like I lived over in Germany also, and like even as a kid I kind of always dreamed of the Bay Area for some reason, and I like had a huge liking of the Oakland A's. I love the Oakland A's. I had like a Oakland A's starter jacket and the matching hat, and liked Jose Canseco.
Oh, yeah.
So it was really funny. But then the Golden Gate Bridge was always something that like I imagined too a lot.
Okay.
And I always used to like really imagine being like, one day I'm gonna see it, and one day I'll be there. And then I remember the first time I came out here, I just was blown away. Yeah, and I remember thinking this is where I could probably be forever.
What blew you away?
It was the culture, kind of. It was kind of seeing the hippie movement along with like Black Power movement, with jazz, with technology, like future robotics and tech. And I don't know, I thought if people were smart enough, like this could be like what the future looks like in a cool way. And I was like, wow, this is awesome to see people getting along of all different types of callings. But it felt like it was going in the right direction.
Did it feel like home right away, or?
Oh, totally. It felt like I never felt the need to want to go back home.
Right.
I felt like this is where I was.
Right.
Yeah.
You didn't speak to, but I'm gonna guess that this is a thing for you, the natural beauty here, just the natural landscape. And
yeah. It's funny. It's like I've never been like that much into hiking or anything, but I love fishing.
Okay.
And I love being in nature. But it's funny. It's like I feel like hiking is kind of like a privilege thing, and you have to have like friends that do it, just like camping and stuff. So I had a couple of friends that I've gone camping with, but it was going to like Muir Woods and stuff. It was seeing places like that. It was like access to the beach, being able to bike to places and see giant massive trees, or hear waves, or see whales, or go to the snow, like Tahoe, like all these places. And it took years for me to be able to like figure that part out too, because like if you don't have a car, you can stay stuck in San Francisco forever.
Correct.
So yeah, it was an interesting thing. It's like people would tell me like, man, I went to Big Sur, or I've been to this place, and I still haven't been to like Yosemite. I haven't been to Big Sur. I haven't been to a lot of places, but I've been to like Humboldt, you know what I mean? Like, so yeah, seeing these kind of things and being like, wait, Mendocino is only a few hours away.
Not far at all.
Granville,
right.
And Lake County, and like you just realize how massive this place is. And then going out to like Turlock and places like that, and then there's redwood
valley.
groves even out there, and like, you know, so yeah, the natural part of it slowly like started making more sense.
Yeah.
And it's kind of intimidating too, because you need to have like certain time to be able to actually enjoy these spaces.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, you can definitely go somewhere in like a few hours and come back.
Right.
Yeah, you know.
But there's a lot of like I don't want to just drive through these places.
No.
I want to like be.
Like you want to go spend time in the sequoias and like walk around and like look at each tree for a while, and like, you know, yeah, Muir Woods is crazy like that too, because it's like you literally can go so many different paths every time you go there.
Yep.
And like I've never been to Stinson Beach from there still.
Oh, okay.
You know? And that, like, that's one of the things that
I don't think
have
I've done
to go
that
do,
either.
you know.
Stinson Beach, I mean, it's totally beautiful up there. One of my favorite things, do you know about this? I think they still do it with Bolinas and Stinson. They do a tug of war every July 4th across the bay there, across that little...
Oh my God, I never knew that happened.
Like, you know, there's like the Stinson people on one side, massive fucking rope.
Really?
And then, it's a thing.
That's amazing, because I feel like Bolinas is such a strange town.
So strange.
It's weird. I feel like it's like I never was able to find it, and then all of a sudden, like when you find it, you're like, whoa, you have like a gas station with 2 pumps.
Right.
That's it. And
Right.
Like, yeah, it's cute. It's a cool little place, but it's also weird because you're like, what is this place? Like, how do you live out here?
It's like the edge edge of the world.
It really is. It's amazing. It's kind of it reminds me of a Clive Barker or Wes Craven movie.
Yep.
Like where everybody's secretly like you know what I mean, like not alive or something.
I'm glad
weird,
you said it. Yeah, no, I feel the same way. It's a
little too perfect.
Right. Yeah. So when you moved out here, you said 16 or so years ago.
Yeah.
Did you necessarily have a plan? Did you think you would stay, or?
Yeah, it's weird. I moved out here hoping to become like a product designer, like an inventor, industrial designer.
Okay.
And before I left, I was interested in that world too. Like living in Kentucky, I kind of really was interested in art and design, and, you know, created clothing, like little designs and stuff with friends, and made music, and so it felt like it was coming, you know. And I was around hanging out with friends, going to art galleries, and we even had our own art gallery space, and I think that was like the direction that I saw as a way out of Kentucky. Was like, oh, if I go to art school or something like that, or, you know what I mean? So I was like, well, what's a type of art that can actually get me paid? And it's like industrial design. So yeah, I came out here hoping to do that, but it shifted immediately. Like the vacation I took to come check this place out, I got a job like the first hour I was here off the airplane.
Wow.
Yeah, I started working that same night.
Whoa.
Yeah, and then I got an apartment 4 days later, and then I went back home.
That used to be possible.
Yeah, no, totally. And everybody was like, how did you do it? And I was like, I just did it. And I mean, I still feel like I could do it now. It's that mentality of kind of being like ready to make it happen.
Open.
Yeah.
Too. I feel like you have to be open.
Yeah, yeah. Like, I mean, it was all part of meeting the people on the trip that I felt like I was going to be friends with, that I still am friends with till this day. And that it's cool to still see people here from that first trip that I took, and know where they still live in the city, and like pass by to Visadero and different places and be like, hey, I remember when that was different, and we used to drink $1.50 beers here, and Beanbag Cafe, and yeah, that's where I picked my first keys up.
Oh, nice. I used to live next door.
Yeah.
Way back in the day. But okay. Cool. And then so I'm a little bit familiar with this place where we are, but I'm also a little bit familiar with 280 Project. Which comes first, sort of timeline-wise?
I mean, Alemany Farm, I didn't really... It's funny, it's like I knew about it before, but it was Slug, and I used to see Slug as like a dump site, kind of.
Yeah.
And then when I saw Alemany, it's because I knew the lady that had planted the vines originally here.
Okay.
Had them here, so I came to try and like find her to see if I could help her out, and that never really worked out. But yeah, I really got involved at Alemany once I found out that the vines had been abandoned. So I took that opportunity to be like, hey, can we be the stewards of this small little tiny space? And we totally did. We got the access to do it. And then from that I realized at the same moment that there's like this housing community, mainly of like black and brown people that are low income, living completely or like directly under affluence.
Right.
Like a very fancy neighborhood that's changing rapidly also. Like Cortland was a completely different place not that long ago also,
Right.
and now it's become very bougie.
So this is Bernal up here.
Bernal Heights, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So Alemany apartments sit like kind of on the backside of Bernal Heights,
Right.
which is cool because they share like the same playground up there and like the same farm. But that's what really like started to like pique my interest was I was like, wow, there's still a black community that's like living in poverty kind of, and they don't necessarily use the farm the same way that people from up top use it.
Right.
You know, so that really made me wonder like why,
Yeah.
and like what makes people come together in a place even if it is inviting or
Right.
is supposed to be inviting. You know, how do you actually make something feel accessible? And you know, so that's where we started this thing called Feed the People Collective. Also, my friend Haley Garabato and I, we cook once a month out of the kitchen at Alemany, using food from the farm. And then you know, Haley's a professional chef, so she has access to ordering chicken, things like that. Same thing, I work at a grocery store, so I can get stuff at cost. And then we basically bring that out here. Haley kind of runs her side of it, like cooking school, where she teaches people how to like cook everything in proportion to actually being able to feed the 150 so people.
Amazing.
And but like also like the recipes and why you cut things a certain way, and like, you know, knife skills, knife work, all of it. And then like for me it's more like running in front of the house while cooking, but also going into the neighborhood directly, knocking door to door and like handing food to people, and just kind of being that face with everyone to be able to actually show what community could look like.
Right.
You know, so
Love it.
it feels like a really close thing to like when I first moved here.
Okay,
like
right.
seeing like how people could just take care of each other, or like have like the open door for a party and everyone was welcome and beer was just accessible by, you didn't have to know anybody
Right.
to like go eat food at someone's party or go, you know what I mean? So it feels like this is like a reminder to people that like if you have like a skill or something that you can take care of your community.
It's kind of a potluck mentality.
Yeah, totally.
Sometimes I think about that. It's like, well, everyone has something to offer, and then we can all be enriched by everyone else's, whatever it is they bring to the plate.
Well, and I think about it like in a way that like if we have one day to give something back to the community, if everybody in the city was doing something like that, imagine how big of an impact that would shift. And like, so same thing, like if people working in tech or something don't feel like they fit in, or vice versa, imagine if people were doing like actual nice things in the city. Like imagine how quickly that would be like make people want to hang out. You know, imagine if you're at Dolores Park and you just bought a bunch of fried chicken and food and potato salad and like, you know what I mean?
You're making me hungry,
you know
sorry.
what I mean? But like, and you were just like, hey, come through, let's
Right.
have conversation and hang out. And like, you know what I mean? Imagine people would be like, well, why? And they'd be like, I don't know, because I just want to be friends.
Right. Yeah.
You know, but
right. You got to get over the skepticism.
well, and it takes time.
Totally.
So same thing when we first started this, you know, people were like, be like, why?
Wary.
You know? Yeah, exactly. But you keep it up over a course of years in doing it, and people just realize that you're trying to feed the community. And because of that, you can walk through a neighborhood with gang violence and other problems, and like people are like happy to see you, and you don't have to ever stress it. So I think if we did that on like a larger scale in our city, imagine like how people would feel. Like
it could change things.
Totally. I think
better,
that you could
for sure.
definitely deal with like poverty and like equality and you know, people just being seen. I think that's a huge part of why we are having issues we're having in our city, is like we don't see each other. You know. And it's both ways. People are seeing it.
Right.
You know, I think wealthy and rich people and tech people are like being dismissed, but at the same time, they're not leaning into people to like also show like, hey, I'm a good person too. You know.
Right.
And like, I may not be from here, but like, show me what's up.
Totally.
Like, you know.
Well, yeah, and it's up to each of us as individuals to figure out our place in things.
Totally.
And so Feed the People Collective is what
Feed the
that's
People
called?
Collective.
Okay. And for listeners, is there a way for people to get involved beyond just showing up? Or
Yeah, we have an Instagram that's Feed the People Collective, and
Okay.
then Yeah, you can hit Haley up. She runs that Instagram. And yeah, so I mean, I guess I trailed off, but like that was what I found this farm was really interesting about, was like, this is so close to these people and these people, but why are we not all coming together? So Feed the People Collective was kind of like a calling to get people from up the hill and people down the hill to come to eat together, and it does happen.
A bridge.
Yeah, but what it started out as is like I wanted to call to the culinary industry for chefs that have like time like once a month to be able to cook,
right,
and actually come like show their skills that people don't get to experience because they don't either have the money or feel welcome in their spaces to go to those nice restaurants that I've been lucky enough to work in.
Right.
And it was very sad to see that a lot of people never like actually wanted to do that.
And
which
then
is
Haley's
so weird.
an example.
But Haley's doing
for
it
all these people.
Yeah,
it's
Haley
like,
is killing it in a way that like I think a lot of people are gonna like feel a little bit like they screwed up.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Because someone's gonna actively have that on their resume of like feeding her community,
Right.
being from San Francisco, going to Mission High, and then like actually being here, traveling the world as a chef, coming back and being like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take care of my actual city.
Yeah.
I'm going to inspire people. I'm going to show other people that they can take care of themselves and take care of people. And yeah, so I don't know. I think, and so that's when seeing those vines at Alemany, it was the same feeling. It was like, if we're going to take these vines over, we got to do something bigger than the previous person that kind of just wanted to tell a wine story, like making wine in San Francisco. Like, I think it's bigger than having wine come from these grapes. It's more about the access, the opportunity, the inspiration that it gives people. The youth that get to help put vines in the ground get to know that they have planted basically a tree that'll be there when they're older.
Right.
You know, but it's also like it's inspiring for Black people to see a vineyard now on the hillside that like you can see from the freeway when you drive by.
Amazing.
And it's cool. It's like this is only the first one, you know what I mean? We're going to add another vineyard in the city. Like we have another spot in the Bayview where we have vines growing now at Cali Bird Pollinator Sanctuary with Danny and Isaiah. And so same thing, that's another space. Like just keep using this vehicle of vines to like actually inspire people, you know.
And am I totally wrong, or are y'all making wine as well?
Oh yeah, I mean we are making wine.
I thought I saw that.
That's like the funny part is like for me at this point sometimes like, and my friends tell me to like remember that I have to like make wine, and I'm like, yeah.
Oh right.
I like making wine, but I don't know. It's funny. It's like I really enjoy like getting to get people to think about being back on the land and what land access actually means and what owning land means, as far as like, you know, in the city it's kind of a really like scary situation where people are like looking at land as like property value and like wealth, like in a way different way than if you were to live out in the country and you're like, oh cool, I got trees and like running water and I can go fishing and,
right. Well, yeah, at the risk of being cheesy, to me this is wealth.
Yeah, no, this is
and
in the city.
And the fact that it's not just like one person or one family, it's like a community.
Well, and you can,
that's wealth to me.
The thing about Alemany Farm is it's really special because it's all free.
Right.
Yeah, every piece of food and flour is free to the community, and the only rule is like you take care of it and you don't take more than you need.
Right.
So if we were able to replicate this and put it all over the city, imagine how much people would be able to eat.
Can I ask you to share a story that I heard you tell at the library about on that topic of like having folks from the community come in, and the story was something to the effect of like fruit that's on the tree and folks weren't familiar enough with that connection to know.
So there was a time we were doing Feed the People, and these young girls from the neighborhood, Black girls from the neighborhood, were coming in playing, and they were like ready for our lunch to be coming out, and they kept on asking for fruit. And at one point we were like, hey, no, you got to go to the farm and go find some fruit because there's definitely fruit up there. And they came back and they were like, there's no fruit up there, we don't see it. And it was at a time when apples were on the trees everywhere, plums and stuff. And I looked and I was like, hey, what about that? And they're like, what? And I was like, look up in that tree. And they're like, what? And I was like, you don't see those things in the tree? And they're like, what is that? I was like, what do you think that is? And they're like, oh, it's an apple. And they literally went and grabbed apples and took them off the tree, and they were like, that was the first time.
Their minds must have been blown.
Yeah.
I mean, my mind is blown hearing that story. It's really poignant.
But it's like one of those moments that like now they know how to go get apples during that certain time of the year, and their mind will remember that as a kid. They'll be like, oh, there they are again. Like, and they'll learn like by taste testing themselves. They'll be like, oh, they're starchy, or like, oh, they have to change color. Oh, then they're sweet. You know what I mean? Like, they'll start to like find that part out themselves now, because it's not poisonous. They can like go back and eat it as many times as they want.
Right.
So I don't know. It reminds me a lot of being a kid myself, and the older people around me that kind of taught me certain things. And I had like certain teachers that would show me and spend just a little bit more time like educating you on like, food and different stuff like that.
I feel like it's connections too, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, you might know what an apple is because your mom someone went to the store and bought one from a thing of apples, but then now you're making a connection of where that apple actually comes from.
Well, and this farm is way more important than like just aesthetic beauty and feeding people. It is also educating people on what food looks like when it's grown.
Right on.
When it's ready.
Right.
What it looks like with nature, with trees, you know what I mean? Like this meadow, you know what I mean? People are like far away from watersheds and stuff like that. They don't get to see like cattails growing and like hear frogs, you know? So it's weird. It's like when you can remember what nature is, you can like kind of feel safer to get back to it.
Totally.
And I feel like it becomes more normal to like dream about having your own space, like a little bit of property, a little bit of like, you know, land dedicated to growing your own food, and like like homesteading doesn't have to be a scary thing. It's like, you know what I mean? There's property in Marin and like Half Moon Bay for sale. There's like places not that far from here that you can still buy affordably, and it's kind of crazy. I feel like Alemany in an urban setting is like preparation for like showing people, and it could be used like that. I think that like teaching people how to like farm, how to garden can be beneficial to people being able to like be responsible stewards of the land
and to live in harmony with nature better.
Exactly. Like this is an organic farm, so like learning that you don't have to be really spraying anything or like killing anything, maybe gophers, but like if you put owl boxes up instead, you know, they'll eat them. Like there's ways. There's coyotes here. Coyotes eat them. You know. But it's an interesting thing. It's like it's all like this symbiotic relationship, and that's what it gets back to. You know. And I think all the things that we do on this farm are kind of like being part of that symbiotic relationship. Whether it's teaching grapes and offering access or feeding the community, I think it's kind of being more tapped into what like I originally came here for was design, but it's a different type of design.
Thanks for listening to part 1 of our Alemany Farm episode. Next week, we'll go back to the farm and check in again with Christopher, who will tell us all about Project 280. Then we'll go on a walking tour through the farm. Please join us next Tuesday for part 2. Music for Storied San Francisco was produced, performed, and curated by Otis McDonald. Michelle Kilfeather does original photography for us. Aaron Lim of Bitch Talk Podcast is our contributing producer. And the show is produced and hosted by me, Jeff Hunt. Now in our 5th season, we have more than 200 episodes available on our website, storiedsf.com, or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you're able to, please rate and review the show. And drop us a line at storiedsf@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. Stay strong, weird, and healthy. And we'll see you next time on Storied San Francisco.
This podcast is a proud member of the BFF.FM podcast network. Learn more at podcast.bff.fm.
BFF.FM, best frequencies forever.